Part 86. After My Death, the Villain Blackened Again. Author, Ben Gongwei Pang. Chapter 859. Not from his partner. It's her, that woman. 4 years, long and terrible, but transient. Luo Zi had thought countless times that she would send him a message and would contact him. He had not even changed the previous number. He was afraid that when she tried to call him, she would find that the number had become empty. But year after year, he no longer even expected that she would contact him. Occasionally, I thought that she might have died in a corner where he and the old man did not know. She was raised as a canary by the old man. He knew nothing about her abilities, but the money in her hands was not enough for her to spend a few months. He could not imagine how she would survive if she left the cage. Because of this, she regretted countless times. When she regretted leaving that day, she called his brother, and he didn't even answer. At the moment of regret, she was impatient, waiting for her to finish. She teased him against him from an early age. She said she was jealous that he was the biological son of the old man. He didn't care about this at first, but later saw the old man tied to the bed after her tossing, and then realized afterwards that he understood the meaning of her words. Maybe she didn't like to treat her like the old man at the beginning. She was so rebellious. She probably wanted to resist in her own way, but she was too weak. Too weak, the old man moved his fingers and she had to give in. How much persistence did she leave? She said she was envious of him, and now he understands that she felt that if she was born by herself, the old man would not treat her like that. She envied him, and perhaps hated him. After all, from a young age, he had always stood by with her cold shoulders. At the age of 16, she resolutely ran away and flew out of the palm of the old man's palm. Before leaving, she even revenged the old man so fiercely. In fact, Lowe's admired her. The prejudices and disdain for her have disappeared in the long time of these 4 years, he only admired and guilted her. Staring at the phone interface for a moment, he opened the chat window. Xia Qingming, hello, are you Qingming's brother? Are you also in the XX state of rice? Is someone else logged into her number? A spirit in Luo Fei's heart hurried back to the past. I am, where is Qingming? After sending, he directly clicked the video call. But that end did not pick up his video, but sent him a position to share. Qingming is at the hospital. She doesn't want to have surgery. Can you come over? Luo Fei stared at those words. After a while, it seemed as if the reaction had come. He greeted the partner and rushed out. How could she be in the hospital? How could she be in a city with him? Before he went abroad, although the old man hadn't explained what he was looking for her, but if he had a little time himself, he would also ask if anyone around him had seen her, and her photos were always in his wallet. The old man's movements were even worse than he was. I don't know how many people have been hired to find her abroad. The law and order abroad are not as good as those in the country, and there are more illegal elements who specialize in selling women. If she looks so beautiful, can she survive abroad? Even the old man didn't think she could survive well. Not only did her old card owner stop, she always made money in it. He really didn't expect that he could still have contact with her, and they were in the same country and the same city. After My Death, the Villain Blackened Again. Author, Ben Gongwei Pang. Chapter 860. Luo Zi arrived at the hospital as quickly as possible. According to the address in YKO, he quickly found her ward. She was still asleep, and he glanced at her. In 4 years, she had bloomed from a small flower to a peony flower, and even if she was lying there asleep, she was still beautiful and stunning. The boy sitting next to him was an Asian. Seeing him in, he got up and made a bu gesture to him, and took him to the corridor again. I'm Qingming's boyfriend, my name is Han Yi. Luo Fei heard the words and glanced at Han Yi without any trace. It was learned that she had run away from home, and the one named Zhao Tian was looking for him. The two met not long ago. Zhao Tian was still asking him about her. She's okay, and she's making another boyfriend outside. Listening to this standard Mandarin, this person is still a compatriot. Looking so white and handsome, he doesn't look like a man at all, but looks like a little white face supported by others. Why is her vision so bad? Luo Fei has become accustomed to facial paralysis. Even if there is any doubt and dissatisfaction in his heart, he does not show it, and only asks Han Yi, "What's going on in Qingming? What's wrong?" Asking Han Yi's face was a little embarrassed immediately. He lowered his head and felt guilty. He said, "Qingming's body has not been very good. She and her aunts have always had a lot of blood. Me, I haven't. Yes, I do. Auntie know if this is abnormal. She had a major bleeding this abortion. The doctor wanted her to have a birth control operation. The doctor said that if she had another child, she would lose her life whether or not she would have a baby." Luo Fei stared at Han Yi and stared at him. He rolled up his sleeves and slammed his head on Han Yi. Han Yi didn't fight back, just murmured, "Brother, brother, can you help Qingming first? She doesn't want to have surgery, and she doesn't want to continue treatment." When he said that, he suddenly burst into tears. "Brother, you can hit me anyway, it's my fault, but can you persuade Qingming first? She will be discharged today. She doesn't want to live in the hospital." "How old is she?" As for the pregnancy and miscarriage, this little white face had no sense of responsibility at first sight. How could she dare to practice herself like this? "Go away." Luo Fei glanced at him. "Don't let me see you again, it's better to go far." Han Yi didn't speak, sitting on a chair in the corridor, and didn't mean to leave. When Yanj woke up, she slightly looked at Luo Fei, who was sitting beside the bed, thinking that she had read it wrong, squinted her eyes, and turned to look at Luo Fei again. This time, it was probably confirmed. She tentatively called, "Luo Fei." "It's me." Luo Fei looked at her with no expression. "I just learned about your condition from the doctor. The doctor suggested to have surgery as soon as possible. What do you think?" Yan Ji didn't respond to him, but looked around in the ward and asked, "Where is Han Yi? Where did he go?" "When I was asleep, he was sitting here with you." So a man who put her life in danger, she was still thinking about it. What's in her head? One by one, these men are worse than one. He froze, and said without changing his face, "You are talking about that little white face? He contacted me with your mobile phone, and then said that he was all right and went away." Yan Song said oh softly, slightly squinting. Lazar peeked, seeing her lost and helpless. The expression on his face was even colder. "You are listening to novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. After my death, the villain blackened again." Author, Ben Gong Wei Pang. Chapter 861. "I'm sorry to interrupt your time." Yan Ji lowered his eyes and said softly, "I'm awake now, and my body is fine. If you are busy leaving, I will deal with the operation myself." The doctor consults. Luo Fei sat there, motionless, staring at her, and there was no emotion in those eyes. It makes people confused about his mood for a while. Yan Song did not look up, naturally he could not see the expression on his face. She found her cell phone near the pillow, as if thinking of something, panic, and looked up to him and said, "My affairs, I hope you can tell the old man." If he was 4 years ago, he might just get up and leave, or show a mocking expression to her, but now he sits there with his fingers tightly, and finally just calmly asks her, "What are you going to do?" "I don't care about your business." Yan Ji frowned slightly, looked up at him, and said, "Sorry, you also know the relationship between us. I don't want myself to trouble you, I will handle my own business by myself, okay? Rest assured, I won't cause you any trouble in the future. He had a stubble in his throat, and suddenly remembered that when he was a child, she often chased him and called his brother, always tired of his pictures. When did she change her temperament? It was when the old man always stretched out her salty pig. He didn't protect her or help her. He kept watching, even falling into the ground, and ignored her. So she didn't call his brother anymore. Because he was not worthy of her brother. He leaned down slightly and reached out to touch her thick ufa. I'm your brother. The moment he touched her hair, his hand froze for a moment, but immediately he stroked it slowly, and his voice softened unknowingly, how can I ignore you? She seemed stunned by his words, paused for a moment, and then suddenly reached out and pulled the quilt to her head. He pulled her quilt down and realized that she was crying silently. Tears were already streaming down. The quilt was ripped apart, and she reached out to wipe her tears, and said to him, I was just a little sick, but I'm fine. She wiped away her tears and looked up to him and said, we are not brothers and sisters either. You and me are very clear about this relationship. It is actually best if we don't meet each other. If you really feel uncomfortable, then all the pocket money I stuffed in your bag during that time was returned to me. If you give me back the money, we are too clear. She smiled at him, but that smile made him feel really dazzling, not even the way she just cried. He didn't understand her inferiority before him, but he grew up slowly, and slowly remembered the memories, only to realize that although she always had high spirits in front of him, she must always have an inferiority mentality. Qingming, he touched the corner of her eye with his finger and wiped her tears. When you left, you called my brother. Since you called my brother, I'm your brother. Don't cry, let's talk about yours first. Condition. The tears in the corners of her eyes couldn't be wiped clean anymore. He whispered, I've been looking for you, and every time I take your picture and ask if anyone has seen my sister, Qingming, in my eyes, you are my sister. He had seen her cell phone while she was asleep. After my death, the villain blackened again. Author, Ben Gong Wei Pang. Chapter 862. The phone needs a password to unlock. Lois tried her birthday, the old man's birthday, and later, he used it to enter. Her address book no longer has his phone number. Those who she knew didn't have a number. He is only available in WeChat, and his remark in her WeChat is brother. In her heart, he has always been her brother. Yanj didn't say anything, she wrapped him around his neck and wept low in his arms. He was stiff, but immediately he reached out and hugged her. He didn't speak, only staring at her dark hair. This was his younger sister, and from now on he would take care of her. Yanj is so desperate that no matter how Luo Fei persuades, he will not perform surgery. The main thing is that she is like this, and she still misses her little white-faced boyfriend. After a few words with him, he called the little white-faced boyfriend. When she and the guy were on the phone, her voice was soft, and she was exactly two people in his impression. Then you go back first. I have my brother here to take care of you. Don't worry about it. I will call you as soon as possible. Rest assured, my body, I know, I will be fine. When she was talking to the person on the other end of the phone, she was very quiet, and the joy in her eyebrows seemed to overflow. Her body was covered with invisible light, her face was even more radiant. Luo Fei did not know why, and was not infected by her joy at all. He lowered his head, and his eyes fell naturally on her other hand. Her hands are small and white. White seems to have no blood, but unlike her tender and soft hands, he can see some thin cocoons and scratches on her fingers. Out of these 4 years, what does she live on? Then a little white face is not like a man who can make her rely on her. Why is she with that man? Did she live, okay? After waiting for her to hang up, he asked, are you and him planning to stay long? That little white face, he didn't feel so good at all. Yan Ji heard the words, her eyes were slightly confused and bewildered, but this sentiment flashed. She met him and said softly, "Brother, hasn't it been so long in my life?" She didn't wait for Luo Fei to respond, she smiled again, but her voice was a little uncertain. He said that he would marry me and take care of me for a lifetime. We had planned to go back to collect the certificate after a while, but I didn't expect this baby would come by accident. Know that when you have, the baby is gone. I don't know, will there be another life in the future? Her body can no longer conceive a child, and a normal man will never think about marrying her again. Lors stared at the self-mockery in her eyebrows, reached out her hand, and squeezed her hand tightly. As long as you are good, there will be everything. He has not comforted anyone, such a word is already the limit. In fact, he still wanted to ask her if he still had a stomach, but when he really came to him, his throat seemed to be the owner, and he had nothing to say. And she didn't get stunned every time she met him, he just wanted the kind of treatment hurt by her noisy brain. So even if he really wanted to know what happened to her in the past 4 years, he had been sitting there for a long time, but still couldn't ask. Forget it, he thought, it doesn't matter what she experienced before. It's good to be alive. Since she has called him a brother, he will be a competent brother in the future, covering her. After my death, the villain blackened again. Author, Ben Gong Wei Pang. Chapter 863. Yan Ji went through the discharge procedure in the afternoon. She wanted to go back to the house rented with that little white-faced boyfriend. Luo Fei was very strong once and took her back to where he lived. The place where he lives is the house that the old man bought for him in the early years. He has a bad relationship with the old man. Even if the old man comes abroad, he will not come to him, so he brings back the song and he is not worried. Will be hit by the old man. Your body is bad now, you should cultivate for a while. Luo Fei took Yanj to another house. This is where you live. Tell me if you need anything. I'll go out and buy it. Yan Ji kept her head down from the beginning, her eyes narrowed at Luo Fei's departure, and she followed him to the door, rushing to pinch his corner of his clothes. I live here, and if your girlfriend comes, by the time. Luo Fei interrupted her, I have no girlfriend and no other friends will come here, and the old man will not even come here. You can rest assured that you live here. He paused and added, I learned that you had gone abroad. This room was originally prepared for you. The slippers at the door and the pajamas in the room were purchased by the maid. You are now grown up. I am afraid those clothes are a bit small, I will take you out tomorrow to repurchase clothes. She bowed her head, and Luo Fei couldn't see her expression. Just listening to her little voice saying, He reached out and touched her head close to her. It's not early, you go to bed, sleep well first, and talk about something tomorrow. Her body was obviously stiff, he hurriedly retracted his hand, and seemed to leave steadily, but in fact he was a little bit nervous. Does she not like him to touch her head? When Yanj was lying in bed, there were several missed calls on her mobile phone, all of which were her current boyfriend Han Yi. There were also some unread messages in YKO. The words were ignored, the phone was muted and fell asleep. The chicken's head is eloquent and analyzes the words, you say you, go around this circle, in addition to a few more men, what other gains do you have, and waste time, you might as well stay in Lufei from the beginning. I feel good about him. You are now unmarried and miscarried. The men in these planes are very concerned about this kind of thing. Zhu Wei waited for the chicken to finish talking, and then interjected, Miss, I think this Luo Fei wants to sleep with you. If you hook up with him, it should be very easy to get started. Chicken, I feel the same way, you just marry this Luo Fei. Anyway, the host's desire is to be Mrs. Luo, and you have not specified which Mr. Luo is. Nine tails, Luffy is better than his father, but he is very cheap and suitable for some heavy tastes. In fact, you can also try Shuangfei, and directly take both the father and the son together. Imagine the picture of them both kneeling in front of you is still good. Words of song. Think about it, it's quite picture-like. The chicken snorted, "Look down, can you do this kind of thing?" Yanj asked, "Is Luo Fei powerful in this plane?" The chicken stunned, "How did you guess?" After questioning it, I remembered it later. Most of the identity of the most powerful person in these planes was guessed by this wood. You are listening to novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. After my death, the villain blackened again. Author, Ben Gong Wei Pang. Chapter 864. Yanj thought for a while and asked, "Chicken, do you have more rights in this green hat system now? Can you find out how those missionaries who once took the list of powerful people have died?" Chicken, I can't find it. After a pause, it also said, "However, I have checked the mission records of those who have taken orders, the tasks of the powerful, they have not succeeded, and they have not blackened the powerful, so now the powerful blackening this situation, you're still an exception." Jiwei, Miss Sister is mighty. Yan Song pondered for a moment. The chicken said, "This mighty man is really weird, and I don't know what the opportunity for his blackening is." At the end, he added, "This kind of darling in the world is so capricious." Jiwei Yuyo said, "Which is the wayward capital, his father is the king of heaven, and how many years of cultivation are not as good as a good father?" At this point, Jiwei and the chicken reached a rare consensus, and unanimously, they began to spit out this powerful man with a good father. Yanj heard the more they talked nonsense, they just rolled over and fell asleep. This sleep was quite good. When she woke up, Luo Fei had already prepared breakfast. He has been alone outside these 4 years. He doesn't like maids dangling in front of his eyes. Everything is done by himself, and he has developed a good cooking skills. Yan Ji was sitting at the table, drinking porridge with a small sip. There was no noise during the meal, but the phone of Yanj rang several times. She did not avoid Luo Fei and opened the voice message of YKO. It was from Han Yi, asking if she got up, did she eat, how was her health last night, was there any discomfort, or if he would give her some breakfast or something. When she responded, she typed. Luo Fei didn't know what she responded to. He listened to the voice of the little white face all the way, and felt that the little white face's mouth would be sweet. Crackling said so much about her, but didn't do anything big. Finally, Luo Fei couldn't help but, at the end of the meal, tentatively asked her, "How long have you been with him?" Yanj stood at the door of the kitchen and looked at Luo Feixi, and when Yan replied, 3 months, it should be less. 3 months. Have done that kind of thing for men and women in 3 months. And still pregnant? Ready to get a marriage certificate? Does she know what she is doing? Luo Fei's face suddenly cooled down. In just 3 months, you are pregnant for him, is it worth it? Yan Song, the child is not his. Luo Fei? The bowl that was supposed to be put in the drain basket was picked up again by him, and he felt that smoking was over his head, but he still had to put up with calmness. Who's that? Song, ex-boyfriends. So this little white face who has been attentive, does he know that there is grass on his head? Luo Fei was so excited that he wanted to keep asking her ex-boyfriend what he did, how he broke up, and why he broke up. However, I felt that asking her like this was a gossip, and maybe it would cause her sadness. So even if he felt that the gossip fire was burning in his heart, he didn't continue to dig into this topic in the end. When he couldn't see her continue to talk, he could only shift the topic. What have you done in recent years? What job? Then she asked and regretted it again. She wanted no education, no craftsmanship, what she could do. After my death, the villain blackened again. Author, Ben Gong Wei Pang. Chapter 865. Yanj, nothing, just be a typist and make money by typing. Luo Fei was silent for a moment. He first studied how those people who came abroad lived. Cleaning dishes and bowls, women workers in the restaurant, or women workers in the factory, all work at the bottom, tired, suffering, not much money. Typist, she's such a trick, even if it's not the lowest, it's not much worse. The anger caused by her boyfriend and ex-boyfriend turned into pity. He asked her, "Do you have any plans in the future? Do you want to learn anything? I can help you." Yanj, it's fine now, it's not tired and easy, just make a little bit less, but I don't have to buy a house to marry my wife. I can feed myself enough. I never thought of doing anything else. Not ambitious. It was her. But Luo Fei also felt that her idea was also good. Anyway, he is now completely independent, let alone raise her, and it is no problem to raise her boyfriend together. As soon as this idea came out, Luo Fei took a nap herself before she did not support her boyfriend. Yanj asked him curiously, "Brother, aren't you going to work today?" "Well," said Lors, "go out and buy some necessities at home today." She wore the same pajamas she wore yesterday when she was discharged from the hospital. He paused and said, "Tell me what you bought, and I'll be back in a while." Yanj shook his head, "Brother, I asked Han Yi to deliver my daily necessities. He should be here in a while. I don't need anything else, you don't need to buy it for me." He knew her self-esteem since she was a child. Upon hearing the little white face coming, Luo Fei immediately dispelled the thought of going out. He simply sat on the sofa with Yanj and watched Yanj turned on the TV. He pondered for a moment and said, "Qingming, in fact, you are still young, so there is no need to hurry to fall in love and get married." Yanj, well, I know. Luo Fei finally wanted to talk for a long time, because the words of the song, suddenly did not know how he should continue the conversation. Can only be silent. Yan Ji glanced at him, "Brother, you, don't say you haven't been in love until now." When she said this, her lips looked at him with a smirk and a smile, her eyes were crooked, her eyes were broken, and she remembered her suddenly. For a moment, Luo Fei stunned and listened to her and laughed softly, "Brother, you have such a personality that you can only find your girlfriend in the year of the monkey. You can never be alone, how lonely." "Men are different from women," Luo Fei said, "career is the most important thing. It is not too late to talk about these if you have the ability to make money to support your family, otherwise you will be a bad girl." In fact, he wanted to tell her implicitly that all the boys who rushed to fall in love with her were all ambitious and could not give her a good life at all. She didn't understand his thoughts, and sighed, "Brother, you are so tired. When you have the ability, those girls in good condition are already famous, your sweetheart must be it was already hooked up by others." "I have no sweetheart." Yan Ji obliquely asked him, "Brother, shouldn't you be a base chicken?" Luo Fei's face immediately darkened, "My decent job, why is it a chicken? After my death, the villain blackened again." Author, Ben Gong Wei Pang. Chapter 866. When Yanj heard what he said, he immediately said, "No, I'm talking about the one who worked on G, that is the same. I want to ask my brother, are you the same?" Luo Fei's eyes stared at the words unbelievably, for a long while, his voice stubbornly replied, "I'm male and I like women." Oh, Yan Ji shrank his head. "That's because your brother's requirements are too high, and most of the remaining men have high self-esteem." Luo Fei interrupted her fallacy, "I am only 20 years old this year." Yanj, well, in a blink of an eye we are all old, and want to be a tender flower, and now it has grown up like this. Brother, do you have a feeling of unforgiving years?" Luo Fei? He didn't feel old at all. The conversation between the two ends with big eyes and small eyes. Yan Ji posted the location of this place. Han Yi came directly to the door. Yan Ji hung up the phone and said to Luo Fei, "Brother, Han Yi is downstairs. Will you pick him up?" Luo Fei nodded, "Okay." It happened that he and the little white face talked separately, so that he quickly away from his own cabbage. When I went downstairs and took a look, Han Yi had a computer bag and a cosmetic bag. Is this her luggage? Or maybe it was this little white face who hadn't brought all her luggage, and wished she wouldn't go back later. "Good morning, have you eaten with Qingming? I saw that the intersection was selling early, so I bought some along the way." Luo Fei interrupted him, "Is that the clear thing?" Since the sister-in-law's attitude and tone were not good, Han Yi shrank her head and nodded in a hurry. "Qingming, she asked me to take only these two." Luo Fei faced coldly to take things from Han Yi. Han Yi quickly took a step back. "Brother, Qingming is the babyest of these two things, and said that I should hand over a lot of money in her hands." Although a little afraid of Luo Fei, the look was resolute. Luo Fei stared at him. "What do you think about Qingming's abortion?" "It's my fault that I didn't take good care of Qingming. Brother, rest assured, I will take good care of her in the future, and I will never let her suffer from this." This guy obviously looks older than him, even dare to call his elder brother. Does it really feel easy to call him elder brother? Luo Fei interrupted him, "I'm not your eldest brother, and you know Qingming's physical condition. You have to be true to Qingming, and you can tolerate no children in the future? Even if you think you can tolerate, can your parents accept such a Qingming? My parents died early. There are 2 older brothers and 1 older sister on it. I have many nephews. The one I hate most is the child. You can rest assured. Brother Qingming is with me. I will never wrong her." "Nonsense. Naive and naive." Luo Fei stared at him. "Qingming is too young. She doesn't understand anything now. I don't want her to marry so early." Although Han Yi was stunned by the cold atmosphere of Luo Fei's whole body, his body was stretched and straight, and he wanted to cover the position of the cavity bone that Luo Fei had struck yesterday. "Just back, it's okay, I can wait, I can wait, I can wait anytime." Luo Fei stared at him. He remembered watching Weibo on Weibo before, saying that the male hostess on TV would generally say to the female lead, "As much as you want, as long as you can leave my son words." At that time, his thoughts followed the flow, and he felt that this kind of line was quite brain-wrenching, but at this moment, he didn't know what was wrong with him, and even said, "How much money can you leave Qingming?" You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. After my death, the villain blackened again. Author, Ben Gong Weipang. Chapter 867. The little white face on the opposite side was probably scared by Luo Zaxian's humorous lines, staring at Luo Fei flushed. "It took me a while to say, Qingming and I are true love, and I won't be separated from her for how much money." There is no anti-routine at all. It can be seen that those comments under that popular paragraph cannot be referenced. Yan Ji waited for a long time and simply called Luo Fei. Even if Luo Fei was reluctant, he could only walk up with a small white face. After entering the elevator, Han Yi seemed to have reacted afterwards. The big sister-in-law didn't seem to be very optimistic about him and Qingming. He said again and again, "Brother, you, rest assured, I am sincere to Qingming, will take good care of her." Luo Fei was so disgusted when he saw his flattering stupidity, so he didn't bother to talk to him again. Yan Ji stood at the door, and immediately rushed to see Han Yi. Luo Zi thought she was going to have a big hug with Han Yi. She was about to raise her hand to stop people. Yan himself stood still, reached out, and took the computer bag from Han Yi's arms. She said with a smile, "Is it tiring to run this long distance? Do you remember to eat breakfast? Han Yi was shaking his breakfast bag. I bought the breakfast I bought at the intersection with your brother. Luo Fei, Qingming does not eat this junk food. As soon as Luo Fei's words ended, Yan Ji cheered happily. I seem to have seen glutinous rice cake. Come in soon. Han Yi could feel his wolf's eyes like that of his big sister-in-law, so he went into the room with Yanj. Yanj has put the computer bag in the bedroom, and also took Han Yi's breakfast bag. He flipped the glutinous rice cake out and took a bite. Then he handed it to Luo Fei. You taste it, glutinous rice cake not bad. Don't talk about it. Even if she doesn't touch her saliva, he won't eat it. This is junk food, I don't eat it. Words, oh. She turned around and put half of the glutinous rice cake she had eaten into Han Yi's bowl, and said, then you eat it? My brother made breakfast in the morning. We just ate it. You eat more. Luo Fei, mad, why did she bite herself to others? Han Yi nodded, acting like a puppy, eating breakfast there. Luo Fei looked really dazzling. With such a small white face and a soft, gentle man's temperament, where is it? Han Yi had almost eaten, so he asked Yanj, Qingming Yu, how is your health? It's okay, Yanj said. Just rest. It's okay. Han Yi nodded and stopped talking. Yanj appeased him, I will be fine. A girl as beautiful as me will definitely live a long life. Han Yi followed her words and said, yes, you can live 100 years. Brain disability speech. Luo Fei was sitting on the sofa holding the remote control board and jumping on the platform, but her ears were always listening to the sound of the table. My brother has been such a king's face since he was young, you don't have to be afraid. Let's go. You and I will go to my bedroom. Just look at the room my brother furnished me. Watching their two Chao Yanj bedrooms go, Luo Fei immediately turned his head and was always ready. If they dared to close the door, he rushed in to drive people away. Fortunately, the door was open and not closed. After my death, the villain blackened again. Author, Ben Gongwei Pang. Chapter 868. The conversation between the two people faintly passed into Luo Fei's ears. Qingming, you, when will you move back? I just met my brother. You probably don't know. I was away from home. My brother was scared now. I will stay here for a while and then go back later. So, what about you returning to China with me? You, aren't you going? Xiao Yi, I am in a good physical condition now, and you also know that I don't want you to regret it later, nor do we want to be a blame in the future. You should think about it and think about it. I will definitely go back with you, you will not change, and I will not change. Luo Fei was finally relieved when he heard such words. Han Yi didn't come home after sending Yanj's luggage. Luo Fei took Yanj out shopping and bought big bags and clothes. Seeing Yanj's room completely became a habitual appearance, it was considered loose. Breathed. Yan Ji did not go to work, and Luo Fei did not ask her about her work. She is not fit for work, as long as she is willing to nest at home, it is good for him to support her. During this time, in Luo Fei's view, it was a very pleasant life. Of course, aside from her cooking that can poison him. Obviously, she still did the same as before. However, he could already bear to stop nagging her, and instead felt that, she would not cook, indicating that when she was with her boyfriend, this was not what she was doing, which was good, at least not in this regard. Aggrieved. My younger sister, washing her hands for others, feels uncomfortable. On the weekend, Luo Fei planned to take a song to go to the city next door, take her in and out of some high-end restaurants, take a look at the life of the tall, hope to save the country by curve, let her like this day, and then hurry up with the little white off. But when he returned home from work on Friday, he found a man squatting in front of the unit building and calling there. Probably it was awkward with his girlfriend, and he was always talking good things with his girlfriend there. Luo Fei glanced at him, conscious that the man was a little familiar with his tender face, but didn't think much about it, and went straight into the building. When he got home, Yanj didn't rush to the door as usual to open the door and feed him a spoonful of her poisonous dishes. The treatment is different on Peace Day, and Luo Fei is really not used to it. When he entered the door, he listened to the song in the room and took a mobile phone to go out. When he looked up and saw Luo Fei, he said immediately, "Brother, I have something to go out. Come back in half an hour. Stew in the pot. After the rib soup, you remember to look at some water, but don't dry it up." Luo Fei thought she was going out to meet the little white-faced boyfriend, and immediately said, "You are not familiar with this place. Where are you going? I will accompany you." "Yanj, brother, I have lived here for more than half a month. Where would I be unfamiliar? How tired you are just after work. I'm in the community and won't go away. Don't worry." Luo Fei didn't respond. He went to the kitchen to turn off the fire, and then went out to the song waiting for the elevator. "Yan Ji is helpless, brother, I'm already an adult, just going out for a while." He nodded. "Oh." Yan Song stared at him. Staring, but suddenly laughed again. "Brother, suddenly found that you look handsome. Is he more handsome than her little white face?"